Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to the Black Hole Podcast, Season 7, Episode 24. I'm your host, Mitch Miller, presidential candidate, the most neutral person in the world, the most transparent candidate on any ballot. I am a free market entrepreneur, and it might be the most underground artist in the world. I want to talk today about the website I'm trying to create, theduel.us, and pistol dueling in general. Now, theduel.us is a website where we vote. I'm always trying to build a voting platform. This is a democracy. There should be a bunch of voting platforms, not overrun with algorithms. But the duel.us, you vote on who I should challenge to a duel. We can post discussion, why I should challenge this person to a duel, and then we vote on whether I challenge them to a duel. Because they all hide behind their corporations and their computers and their spy networks. And it's very hard to publicly challenge them to a duel because they own the social media companies and the media companies. So you can't get on to them if you challenge too many people to a duel. So this is a way for us to publicly announce this. But pistol dueling was popular in the 1700s, the 1800s, the deadly kind of pistol dueling. What I've proposed is non-lethal pistol dueling and wrestling match duels. But this deadly form of pistol dueling with real metallic rounds fired at each other, it was phased out. Too many officers in the military were being killed for challenging each other to duels, and the military spent too much money on officer training to allow this for their officers to be killed in a drunken argument, right? So that's why it was kind of phased out. Now, in 1906 and 1908, pistol dueling was featured in the Olympic Games. In 1906, competitors shot at clay dummies. And in 1908, two opponents stood off against each other like the traditional pistol duel and shot wax bullets at each other with protection on their torsos. Now, I've written a peace treaty. It's on mitchformayor.com under the Periscope tab. It's a peace treaty that promotes the idea that we can end all deadly war with non-lethal pistol duels and wrestling matches with a point system, target system. It develops rules and regulations, and most importantly, develops an honor system for the firearms culture, right? We never developed an honor system, and that's why we have terrible situations here in the United States and around the globe. Now, if someone wrote this peace treaty in 1908, maybe we wouldn't have had the deadly World War I and World War II scenarios, right? Could have quickly drafted a peace treaty because all of Europe was in treaties with each other, and that's why everything unfolded the way it was. You could have did a general universal peace treaty where they could have not entered into World War I, but instead ratified this treaty, which made an honor system of non-lethal pistol duels. But that didn't happen. That's not the way history in our dimension here worked. So we could have developed a non-lethal pistol dueling system. My idea in the 1800s. But let's look at it, why this was phased out, all of the options. There's more money in medical kits than rubber bullets, right? There's more money providing militaries with medical kits than providing them with rubber bullets. So I know, I'm always hard on big pharma, on the pharmaceutical industry, but you need to look into what kind of role they played in all of the deadly war on the planet Earth, and recognize that this industry has influenced many decisions and continues to do so. So I'll stand up to them, but many fear the pharmaceutical industry and its subsidiaries. So in the 1800s, my idea is we could have developed most dueling pistols were 50 caliber. They used round lead balls. We could have developed rubber balls back then, right? Could have had rubber balls. We could have rolled these 50 caliber rubber balls in chalk so that they made a blue or a red mark on the torso of people they were fired at. The triggers of the dueling pistols, these old black powder, flintlock dueling pistols, we could have created dueling pistols that had stopwatches built into the trigger mechanism. There could have been a synchronization mechanism that synced mechanically both trigger stopwatches to the same time. And then dueling opponents could wear targets with a large circle and a small circle in the center. These targets would be applied at center mass of each torso of each opponent. We sync the trigger watches. There's a judge that syncs these trigger watches, these trigger stopwatches. They also call out the paces. Each opponent takes 15 paces away from each other. They turn and shoot. And the first person with a bullet in the large circle with the fastest time wins. The stopwatches are compared to see who had the fastest time. If the times are tied, the person with the closest to the center circle wins. If it's a draw, they duel again, and so on and so forth. So that's how we could have developed dueling back in the early 1800s. Rubber existed, chalk existed, stopwatch mechanisms existed, right? We didn't do that, mainly because of the egos of men who like to convince other younger men to go die for their ideology, right? And that's the way it is now too. But look, I've suggested starting a weapons company. Now these are, I'm always putting ideas out there. I'm always putting projects and programs out there to see which one takes off. My idea for a weapons company would be to make paintball dueling pistols that sync up wirelessly. They have, instead of a judge, they have a central console that's placed between the two duelers that counts off the paces. And you can set a time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. If you don't fire within that amount of time, your trigger becomes locked. So that prevents the duelers, one person firing, the other person seeing that person is fired and taking extra time to aim. It should be a turn, aim, shoot as quickly as possible. So that's where these wirelessly synced dueling paintball pistols come in. That was my suggestion, mainly because I am prevented from owning a firearm. Any weapon that uses black powder to send a projectile, I'm not allowed to own according to the United States of America and the state of Pennsylvania. It's not that I'm not only allowed to not own them, I'm not allowed to possess them. That's the wording, possess those weapons. So that's why I suggested making paintball wireless synced dueling pistols so that I could engage in the dueling, but perhaps there are some surrogates that would step in my place and duel in my name until the United States and the Pennsylvania change their mind on this. Now, the only benefit to this is I haven't been training on firearms for 20 years. I would be stepping into it anew. I could track all of the time I spent, the amount of shots I spent practicing, and these statistics could be used to pair me with an opponent that has the same statistics. Say leaders in other countries that weren't trained on weapons, their statistics could also be tracked, and we could match similar training to similar training. So that's the advantage to why I am not allowed to possess that. But I've suggested this weapons company, I'm open to any variation, whether it's black powder 50 caliber dueling pistols with stopwatches in them and rubber bullets. We produce these weapons. We produce the bullets. Whether it's producing rubber bullets for modern pistols, I've suggested a 45 caliber pistol would be ideal because it has a lower muzzle velocity, which means it's less likely to penetrate through any type of torso armor that we use, even if it's rubber. I've thought of coming up with an app that could be installed on a smartphone. An omnidirectional mic could be placed in the headphone jack of that smartphone. That smartphone could be placed between two duelers. It could count off the paces, and it could register the first shot from what direction it came from, who was quicker, and we could do things that way. So we could develop an app for this. This weapons company could develop an app, rubber bullets, pistols themselves. It can all be voted on. I even thought of possibly developing silencers. Silencers are now legal in a lot of states, including Pennsylvania. We could develop silencers that sync wirelessly, and when they become excited by the bullet leaving the muzzle, that locks in and tells which dueler fired first. These silencers could be made for modern 45 caliber weapons. This would allow people to duel at midnight in interesting locations and not disturb the rest of the neighborhood and city. Right? So we could develop silencers that have a wireless component to them. All of this can be voted on at theduel.us. If I am able to develop this website, I'm going to try to do it myself. I haven't sat down and logged in. I paid for hosting. I was hoping doing this podcast would strum up some support and some programmers that could help me build this thing. But nobody likes a volunteer, right? And I have low funding to no funding for anything I do. Living on a shoestring budget here. Now, the peace treaty I wrote, that's available on Mitch4Mayor.com. That's Mitch the number 4Mayor.com. It also attempts to deal with us entering into artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence in warfare. I lay out some parameters for drones, both air and sea drones, that I hope supercomputers and artificial intelligence will acknowledge, and anyone that goes beyond those parameters, loads their drones with higher amounts of munitions, will be penalized in some way. this peace treaty can be voted on by humans, right? And developed to address artificial intelligence. I think artificial intelligence acknowledges my peace treaty, but that's just a gut feeling. I have no confirmation on that necessarily. So it can all be voted on at dole.us, the dole.us. It's going to be, to fund this platform, there's going to be a $25 annual membership. $25 annual membership grants you membership to have discussion, forum, and vote on different aspects of the peace treaty, on the weapons company, and who I should challenge to a duel. So if you donate $25 through any of my websites, I have 4 websites. They all have donation links to my PayPal. plotm.com, mitchformayor.com, almavoter.com, and trafnet.org. If you donate the number $25 through any of those websites, please disclose your email, and I will place you on an email list and update you with the progress of the dole.us platform and website. And as soon as we have a membership feature on that website, as long as it's within the first year of you donating, you will be given a username and password to enter into this platform. So thanks for listening. Again, check out the peace treaty. I also go into wrestling matches with the scholastic rules. That's a point system for scoring in wrestling rather than just MMA craziness, martial artist stuff. And I've opened it up to other forms of martial arts from other nations to also add to this peace treaty. But that's where we went, right? We went from lining up in lines and shooting muzzle loaders at each other to, and we didn't involve pistol dueling, and we didn't incorporate it into any of our peace treaties. And then flash forward to the 70s, 60s, 70s of conflicts where we developed mixed martial arts designed to kill opponents. And we never embraced either one, the pistol duels or a hand-to-hand combat system that scores points to work into our conflict resolution. These leaders have conflicts. They use media to convince people to go die for them. We could have conflict resolution where a leader challenges a leader to a duel. That's the uncowardly way to handle things. That's the unegotistical way to handle things with level-headed leaders that don't take it lightly, but they're also not cowards. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.